right, welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. I should know the number 30, episode 37. I had to look it up um, on my notes. I didn't know it off the top of my head, but we're back for Happy Hour with Heather and Guest, episode 37. I'm joined as always by the person who lends their name to the title of this program, Heather. So good to have you back.
Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about a couple of bands. The first being Green Lung, who is a band that you suggested since it was your turn. And then
Yep.
after we finish discussing Green Lung, we'll talk about Parallel Minds and Black Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So, before we get to the first album, which is an EP called Free the Witch, anything you want to mention about Green Lung?
Yeah. One thing I did want to say is, what's really great about doing a discography is you get to listen how the band has progressed from album to album and the differences between like the first album and the last album, and it's just a really cool thing to hear. And I think these three albums that we're going to talk about today from Green Lung, I think are perfect for that.
Yeah, I was really excited. I mean, obviously, I had heard of the band before and I had listened to some of their songs. I don't think if I heard one on the radio, I'd be able to recognize it and say, oh, yeah, that's Green Lung. But I knew going into this that it was going to be a special occasion. Some of the bands that we talk about, I've never really heard before. So it's something where it could be like a new discovery. Like when George Costanza says this is like discovering plutonium by accident. I sort of knew going into this that Green Lung was already plutonium. So
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
Free the Witch kicks off with Lady Lucifer.
Yeah. When I first and Green Lung is from London, by the way. And when I first heard this song, I was like, holy moly, this is awesome. The vocalist has such a unique voice, and the song is super catchy, which I'm sure they hear that a lot, that their songs are catchy. But I couldn't think of a better word to describe it. It's just so catchy, and you'll find yourself singing along to it. I also love how heavy and guitar driven it is. And I love Doom, and this is just right up my alley.
When this song first came on, the analogy I thought, in the past when I brought up Milton Berle and someone had said pull out enough just to win, I
Yeah.
was like, this is Milton Berle taking everything out. Like there's no, he's gonna win this one. So I just remember thinking as soon as the song kicked in, I was like, wow, this song is going 100 miles an hour the entire time. There's no there's no fat on it. There's no fat on this song. It's just
Yeah.
pure. This is like on the SATs when you used to have um I forgot synonyms, blank is to blank as blank is to blank. It'd be like Green Lung is to awesome metal as whatever analogy you want. I should have had a better analogy, but but I don't. But yeah, and it also reminded me there was an episode of the TV show Freaks and Geeks that I saw where uh, uh, I forgot the character's name. Jason Segel is the actor. He is really into the band Rush. So he's talking about how great Neil Peart is as a drummer. And his girlfriend's father puts on a Buddy Rich album for him. And he's like blown away by how incredible Buddy Rich is. And I feel like someone would put on Lady Lucifer. Someone would come in and be like, oh, yeah, I've been listening to this band. They're an incredible, like, this is what Doom stoner metal is. And then someone would put on Lady Lucifer and be like, no, this is what Doom stoner metal is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just setting the bar really, really high.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, then next up was Older Than the Hills.
Yeah. And man, do these guys write great songs. This song has a really great bass line, and I love the fuzzy guitars. Another catchy chorus that you just want to sing along. And when when he sings the high notes, it's like goosebumps. I literally had a smile on my face the whole time I was listening to this. And that's great music. And the band has green in the name, and Doom bands that have green in the name are just hot fire.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Slow Green Thing tee that you got me.
Yes.
So I will
Yeah.
agree with that. Yeah, Older Than the Hills opens with bass. It was like the song NIB by Black Sabbath. I felt like it was listening to that song underwater. It was like a bass driven opening, but it sounded like it was being played underwater. And then it has more of a spacey psychedelic feel to it, but it's still very much steeped in a hard rock vibe. Um, and then the chorus gets really heavy. And then I started to get overwhelmed trying to figure out how I would categorize the song, like what genre would I put it in? And then I was like, forget it. There's no, this is just good music. Like just leave it at that. And then I remembered that the only reason why half of these categories exist is so that people have something to argue about. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're just here to have a good time and enjoy the music. So
Yeah.
once I did that, I was able to chill. I probably went into the hills and relaxed with Green Lung. So it was all good. And then next up, Woodland Rights was an album that I had seen before on a YouTube spelunking mission. That was like in the algorithm. So that's what I thought of when you had mentioned Green Lung. I was like, oh yeah, the I remember this album. So Woodland Rights, uh, first, and then I suggested the title track off the album, also Woodland Rights. So what were your thoughts on that?
And I wanted to say too, Free the Witch, that came out in 2018, and then Woodland Rides came out in 2019. And Woodland Rides, oh Lord, yeah, Black Sabbath worship, baby. This is their first full-length album, which is mind-boggling because it sounds so good, like end of the year list good. The guitar in this is insane. The organ is the piece de resistance. I also like how a lot of their songs include things in nature like trees, woods, forests, wilderness, mountains.
Yeah, Woodland Rights. This was a song where I felt like if they played it during a performance or a show, that the crowd, this is like the one that the crowd would all be singing along in unison. And then usually you're the one to do lyric analysis. This time I started to listen more closely, and now you stand under the sign. Yeah, you can't believe your eyes. Dancing naked in the night, won't you join our woodland rites? I took my headphones off and I was like, yes, I will join your woodland rites. I said that out loud to no one, just in my living room, because I for some reason I felt compelled to listen to all this with my headphones on. Sometimes I'll just listen to it, on the stereo, but sometimes I feel the need to actually have it just playing in my ears. So this
Yeah.
time I took the headphones off and I spoke to the heavens and I said, "Yes, I will join your woodland rites."
Sign me. Where do I sign up?
Yeah. Yeah. So Woodland Rites, and then the next one was Let the Devil In.
Yeah. And as a person who used to be in the church, this pretty much hit the nail on the head. Sister, you've been told that making love's a sin. Open your heart and let the devil in. And sister, you can try to fight. You know you'll never win. Open your heart and let the devil in. This is a recurring theme in horror movies and that universal theme of good versus evil.
Yeah, Let the Devil In reminded me a little bit of the album Lore by Elder, sort of a similar combination of kind of more of a progressive doom stoner mix. And it opens with some really sophisticated acoustic riffing and then just jumps into a dynamite riff. And this is the one where I was like, okay, they've got a unique, this kind of reinforced my idea before where I was trying to figure out how do I classify them. And then I was like, no, they just have a unique sound. So there's a combination. I don't know what the secret sauce is, but there's like a little bit of doom, a little bit of stoner, a little bit of hard rock, a little bit of progressive, and it combines to make an excellent secret sauce. So I'm happy not to know what the ingredients, what the actual ratios are, as long as they keep making music. So, and then the last track we were going to listen to off of Woodland Rights was Into the Wild.
Yeah, and you just know from the opening riff that this song is going to be awesome. Another incredibly catchy chorus. The vocals and the music are in perfect sync with each other. Also, I really like the bluesy parts. This is an album to have on constant rotation. I think you'll find yourself going back to it often.
Yeah, I also felt this one leaned, whatever. It leaned more towards a bluesy feel to it, and then pulls back into some subtle riffing. And I really thought this is a jam that I can play for anyone. There are a lot of times where I'll listen to music, and if it's on the heavier side, I will debate like, is this a jam that I can play for anyone? Or do you have to have a certain predisposition to liking heavier music? But this is a jam that I could sit my mom down and play this for her, and I could sit friends down and play it for them. I mean, so anytime I hear a universal jam like that, it's just like it's like gravy. So yeah, I would agree with you. Woodland Rights and Free the Witch will be on my playlist. They'll have permanent spots. They'll be chiseled into the stone.
Yeah.
And then the most recent album is called Black Harvest.
Yeah. That was released in 2021.
2021. And the first track we're going to talk about is The Harrowing.
What a way to open a record. Wow. Just wow. It's like, hello, we're Green Lung and we're going to blow your minds. I'm astonished at how different this is. It's Green Lung, but they made their sound more dynamic.
Yeah, I just wrote The Harrowing, I'm there. I've booked my ticket. And then it's like it reminded me of the band Boston has a song called Foreplay, which is very much like synthesizer driven. And I felt like this is their like version of that. Like, we're going to introduce something really progressive, but it's going to be within the framework of the dynamite music we've created. So I liked that they were sort of pushing the boundaries a little. There are a lot of bands I feel like they develop a formula and they won't break from the formula, and they end up sort of rehashing a lot of what they're good at, but there's no room for growth. And with the Green Lung in this case, from where they've gone from Free the Witch to Black Harvest, they're willing to sort of incorporate other elements into the music, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
So next up after The Harrowing was Upon the Altar.
I remember that this album came out a day before my birthday last year, and I remember thinking, what a great birthday gift. I love the organ, and this has a throwback feel to it. It kind of reminds me of the music my dad played and his record. Even the vocalist, the way that he sings, it kind of reminds me of that. I bet my dad would like this. I should send it to him.
You
This
should.
song This song has some great arrangements, and I think that gives it a fresh feel.
Yeah, they definitely continue what I wrote. They continue with their progressive leanings, but it's still very much rooted in their sound. So they don't come out of left field completely, but you can definitely tell that they're expanding their horizons from Free the Witch, which I really like what they're doing. So that was Upon the Altar, and then we've got You Bear the Mark.
Yeah, soaring vocals, heavy guitars, and quite a showing from the organ. I like the boom, boom of the drums. It gets the head nod going for sure. The fast parts and heavy parts will really get you going, and you'll want to sing this at the top of your lungs. It just it's when when it gets going, the fast parts get going. You're like, yeah, yeah, this is just great.
Yeah, I wrote You Bear the Mark. We're back to Lady Lucifer. Let's see what this beast can do. Like we were in like a high performance machine driving at 100 miles an hour. And it's like, okay, let's take it into the next gear and really open her up. Still with a progressive lean that I enjoyed. And then I wrote You Were Born Under a Bad Sign, which I think might be lyrics from the song. I don't remember.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was I was captivated by that. I guess it reminded me of that song. I know Cream covered it, Born Under a Bad Sign. I know it's originally I think a blues song, but I really liked um that analogy or that mantra. I was born under a bad sign. So, final track on Black Harvest was Born to a Dying World.
Yeah, and I can feel the sadness in this song, about our planet dying. The song really surprised me. It wasn't something that I was expecting. Um, a slower song like a ballad. And when he sang Is This Farewell, that got me right in the feels. And what a guitar solo. It was just incredible. I love it when an album completely surprises me. This one did just that. It's a huge album. It has huge sound.
Yeah, this was a straight up dirge. Like I felt like someone was about to walk the plank, and they were going to play a really somber dirge with an organ. That's what really solidified that it was a dirge. And then the heaviness kicks in, but it's not distortion heaviness. So it's really interesting. Um, and then it sort of turns into more straight up 70s prog rock. Like I think the whole album of Black Harvest, they really incorporated a lot of progressive elements into it that I really enjoyed. Um, so three phenomenal albums, really. I mean, I will often endorse bands that you've suggested, and Green Lung is definitely another one of those bands that if you haven't listened to their music, stop listening to us right now. Go get their albums or check out the playlist. Do whatever you have to do, but make sure that they are a permanent part of your rotation.
Yes, I agree.
And then we've got either Black Sasquatch or Parallel Minds. Who would you like to talk about first?
Oh, how about let's let's save Black Sasquatch for last.
Okay, so Parallel Minds, the album is called Echoes from Afar.
Yes. This came out in March. Uh, they describe their music as heavy metal, thrash, and progressive. Running time on this album is 69 minutes. There's 10 songs, with the longest song being called The Greater Gift, and that comes in at 12 minutes. You get a lot with this album. Besides a lot of great songs, there's soaring vocals, intricate guitar work, and incredible drumming with a lot of double bass drumming. A great mix of power metal and progressive. There's also a softer side. The song Stay is a bit slower and softer and has an incredible vocal delivery. For thrash enthusiasts, there's some of that too. All the songs are different from each other. So there was always something different and interesting to listen to on this record.
Yeah, I was intrigued by something they had on their Bandcamp page, where Parallel Minds was described as a band that would know no boundaries and accept no rules. And I thought that's a perfect description of what they're providing with this album. There's so many different elements at play here that work really well together. You had mentioned the double bass drum. So there's definitely a lot of epic, operatic, death metal, thrash, progressive. But then there's also Gregorian chanting that's incorporated and an accordion at one point. So it was really amazing how all these different elements could work together to make really cool music. So, and I had not heard of Parallel Minds before. So I'm excited that I had heard of them. And I would definitely recommend, if you're into really, so, as long as you're a fan of music, you will find stuff in this album to enjoy and listen to. So I would recommend checking out Parallel Minds. This album is called Echos From Afar, and it sounds like
they're from France.
They are from France. So we're doing a European tour right now with Greenlung from England and Parallel Minds from France, and then Black Sasquatch from Ohio.
Yeah,
so we'll be returning back to the States.
Yeah. And their album is called Believe, and this one came out in May. Tiger Tail. The first song is inspired by a true story of a person in Ohio who had exotic animals on his property, and he set them all free, and then he killed himself. 50 animals, including bears, tigers, lions, wolves, cougars, monkeys. Sadly, most of the animals were killed by the police. The song has a sample from a news report, and it tells more of the story. That's what the song Tiger Tail was inspired by. I like how Black Sasquatch calls themselves Bigfoot Band. That's their brand, Bigfoot. I mean, they've nailed it, and it's great. This is a really good stoner rock EP. The singer has a distinct voice. There's also some great riffs. I put the song I Believe on our YouTube playlist. It's a great song, and I think my favorite is Ode to the Grassman. It has a folksy vibe to it. They have CDs for just $5, so I really recommend getting one. Like you say, get in on the ground floor with this band. I think they're really onto something. Support great underground music.
Yeah, I would agree with you about getting in on the ground floor with Black Sasquatch. It's funny, I was thinking about, they would often, when I would post about the band or whatever, they would always sign anything "Keep It Squatchy," and it reminded me of Rick and Morty. There's a character who says "Keep It Squanchy," so I would always think of that. But one thing I really like about the band is I like bands who take themselves seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously. Like you had mentioned, like they're a Bigfoot themed band. So there's a certain amount of irony involved in what they're doing. And the songs are fun. Like There's sometimes you're just listening to a band and you're like, I wish they wouldn't take themselves so seriously. Like they're missing out on an element of the music, but I really liked this EP. The second half of it is a little bit more varied. They have a song "Robotic Overlords," which begins to sort of get into more of a psychedelic spacey aspect to it. And I also dug "Ode to the Grassman" myself. There's elements of punk, hard rock, metal, and grunge. So again, if you're into any of that music, you'll find something here for you. Um, and then A Tiger's Tale actually reminded me of a short story I once wrote about. I had read that in Japan, they were worried about an earthquake. They had just had an earthquake. So they were worried that if there was another earthquake and zoo animals got out, that they would run amok. So they would have the zookeepers run drills where they would dress up like animals and get run around the park and have to be captured and put back in their cages. So my story was about what must it have been like for some poor schnook to have to put on a Tony the Tiger outfit and run around this zoo and pretend to be a tiger. So a much different story than what they based their song on. But that's what it reminded me of. So definitely, I think we're probably in agreement. All three bands that we've listened to today, you should definitely check out. Heather's put together a playlist so you can sample songs from all three bands. But if you're into any of that sort of grunge punk, stoner, definitely check out Black Sasquatch. Parallel Minds is more sort of epic operatic death, thrash, and then Green Lung is sort of a doom stoner progressive. So really, there's something for everyone. It's a smorgasbord.
Yes. Yeah, that, that's right.
And
There
I
is.
I'm so happy that I got to say the word smorgasbord.
Yeah, feast your ears.
Yeah, I mean it is really like half of, I mean there's so many wonderful elements to this show that I enjoy, but sometimes it's as simple as just providing an opportunity for people to hear bands that you wouldn't normally hear. You know, Heather and I are doing this legwork so that you don't have to. And, you know, and giving you opportunities to check out these bands. So you don't have to go to Ohio to hear Black Sasquatch, although you probably should. You should see them in their element. Um,
Yeah.
but
I mean, you know, and if anyone checks out any of these bands and like them, please let us know because I mean, that would just make me so happy.
yeah, if you've never heard these bands before, if you have, regardless, if anything that Heather or I have said has inspired you to check them out, please let us know, because that, I mean, that's really why, I mean, one of the main reasons why we're doing this. There are a lot of reasons why I'm doing this. Again, I don't want to speak for Heather, but a lot of it is the joy of just sharing and how awesome this music is. So
Yeah.
um, definitely check these bands out, support the underground, um, even if they're not in the underground, even if they're in the ground, you know, in the ground or the overground or whatever the opposite would be. Check them out. So I think that's probably going to do it for today. This has been
Yeah.
episode number 37. We'll be back next week with episode number 38 because that's how
Yeah.
numbers work. And yeah, thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you. That
So,
other dude.
yes, that other dude.